Wow, I'm making another video, and I didn't totally fall off the face of the planet. Ah, that's okay. This is a shit intro. Contrary to popular belief and rumor, I am actually still alive and well. Hurricane Irma did not kill me, though it may have tried. Now, don't be alarmed. I have been working on some videos. It's just life got in the way. When you're working as much as I am, it's hard to find free time for anything else, unfortunately. But I'm here doing another video review, finally. It just took me freaking forever, but that's okay. I don't know if you guys remember my iPhone 7 review. If you didn't, you should totally just click on is it this corner? It's this corner that's mirrored, so here, I think. Whichever corner has the eye, click it. And you should watch that first, just so you can kind of get an idea of what we're going into. But basically, I'm going to do a Galaxy S8 Plus long-term review, since I've been using it since the phone launched in April, May, whenever it was, early April. So it'll be kind of like a long look at battery life, display, the actual phone itself, software features, all that fun stuff. This one's going to be a long one, so go get your drink and your popcorn and go jerk off whatever it is you need to do before we get started, because it's going to be good. Wow, you can tell I'm rusty at this, can't you? This episode of JamesAtGames isn't sponsored by anybody, so I'm going to take this moment to plug my Discord server. Woo! Link down here-ish, maybe a picture, who knows. Link down in the description, click it, and you too can make fun of me for never posting videos, just like all the other fans of my show, all 12 of them. Join the club, it'll be fun. Alright, well the first thing that I'd like to touch on is the unboxing experience, because what part of opening a phone and using it is not started with opening the box. So the unboxing experience, I actually did a video on the unboxing, which I'll probably be cutting in and out here for B-roll, was actually really nice on this phone, in all honesty. Probably should have, there it goes. Probably should have tested this, made sure it was good to go before I started. That's okay. But the unboxing experience is actually really nice. It was I never did open a Galaxy S7, so I don't know what that was like, but opening the S6 was a lot like opening all the other Samsungs. It was it's opening a box, but the S8 kind of kicked it up a notch. With all of the included adapters and the overall layout of the box and how everything opened, and it's got like a nice little premium, like it feels nice. I will say that opening an iPhone box does definitely feel a lot nicer, but that's to be expected. Because that's one thing that Apple does really well, is their box experience. Like I had said in that video, if you do it a few times, it can kind of get old. And I can imagine that if Samsung keeps this box experience going for a while, it will get old. But it's something that they are working on, and it definitely makes the experience much nicer overall, I'd say. Especially with the stuff that's included in the box. I love that they include a USB-C to micro adapter, they include a USB-C to full-size adapter, and they also include a... What's the third adapter? Megan, what's the third adapter? Am I being dumb? Is there not a third adapter? I might just be being dumb. Whatever the third adapter is, you'll see it in the video that I'm cutting in right now to you know, counteract my stupid bullshit. So obviously on this phone, the display is the first thing that you're going to notice. You're going to notice how it blends from corner to corner, side to side, edge to edge, top to bottom. It basically just flows all over the device as that just falls over. And it is a glorious piece of tech to witness and to experience. It is absolutely fantastic from everything from a media consumption standpoint, from a usability standpoint, from just looking at the device. Having the wider aspect ratio with the curved corners makes, it really does, for me at least, it changed the phone using experience completely. For the weekend after getting the phone, because I got it on I think a Friday or something, or a Thursday. And like the entire weekend I did nothing but play with my phone. And when I went back to work on Monday, you know, I do cell phone repairs, so someone brought me an iPhone, and I was just looking at it, and I'm like, what's with these squares? It's so weird. And it is weird. It's weird getting used to it, but
once you're used to the wider aspect ratio, it's really hard to go back. It's really this infinity display is I don't want to say a marvel of engineering, but it's something that you just have to see in person to behold. It's quite amazing. The display itself doesn't really have a whole lot of new technology that hasn't been seen in previous devices, like the color adaptation. I like the fact that it can actually go to a higher peak brightness whenever you're in sunlight, to make it brighter and easier to see. And seeing this display in full brightness when you're outdoors is astounding. It's like you're looking at paper almost. Not quite the same texture, but like the clarity, it's mind-blowing how clear it is to see outdoors in the sun. The only real gripe I have with the display itself is the always-on display, unfortunately. I wish the brightness was adjustable. As of right now, it kind of just automatically determines. It uses the ambient light sensor to kind of detect what brightness it should be. So that way, if it's if it's in the middle of the night, you're not blinding yourself if you happen to roll over and just see your phone. I wish in an instance like this where it's just on my desk, I wish it was a little brighter so that way I could have like a nice little stand or whatever for it, and I can see it while I'm doing other things. But that's a minor gripe. Always on display in and of itself is kind of useless. It looks pretty, and I'm all for it because it does look pretty. It doesn't use a whole lot of battery. It's just the only thing I've really found on it is that if I'm playing music, I can kind of push into it and control my music without having to wake up the phone. But at that point, I can just do the thing and hit the music button. I cannot get over this display. It is absolutely gorgeous. I'm no like high tech. Like I don't have the Calmon monitors and stuff to measure color accuracy and all that stuff. I don't really care, to be honest. It just looks gorgeous. It's got different color modes if you prefer color accuracy or if you prefer the oversaturated Samsung characteristic AMOLED look. You can even fine-tune RGB values. That was added in an update. That's really nice in case you have the red tint screen, which I don't actually have. My wife does on hers, but it's very slight. And it's just all in all, it's a gorgeous screen. It changes the way you consume media altogether. Because there's just something about watching like a movie or something on this in the wider 18.5 by 9 aspect ratio. That is a handful to say. It's I hate to use the word immersion, but it's just what it is. It's immersive and it looks really nice. It can take a little getting used to because a lot of content that's shot in 16 by 9 won't leave a lot of headroom for crops and stuff. So depending on the content, some content will be better than others. If you're watching like anamorphic, I forget what the actual ratio is. 23.5 by 9. Is that the official movie standard? If you're watching like ultra wide movies, it fits a lot better than 16 by 9 does. Not perfect, obviously, but yeah, it's pretty great. But if you watch content that's specifically formatted 18.5 by 9 on the display, it looks fantastic. Which, spoiler alert, I'm actually doing for this video, so haha. Let's hope YouTube doesn't completely ruin ruin this, because this is a bitch to shoot. So the version of TouchWiz that comes on the phone is obviously Samsung's most advanced and most mature to date. I say obviously because it's the latest version. I haven't played with the Note 8 yet. It is coming tomorrow, so that one will probably be a little bit more refined. It'll be a minor improvement. And when the S9 comes out, I need to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. So yeah, but when the Note 8 comes out, that'll be a minor revision. When the S9 comes out, that'll be another major revision, probably the likes of which this was to the other revisions. It might be just another minor revision, but who knows. But basically, there's a lot of little improvements that I love all throughout it that just kind of make the entire experience of using the phone a lot more enjoyable, at least in my opinion. I like the fact that just a simple swipe up and swipe down gets me the app tray. The way things flow, in the settings menu in the native apps, everything's kind of gotten a new design polish tweak pass that's went over it, and everything just kind of flows a little bit better in my opinion. Still, everything is blindingly white, and that irritates me because it's like if I have my brightness up like I normally do, not when I'm filming, that's so bright. It's brighter than my lights. Like it hurts. Keeping with the display, it does some pretty cool things. So, like you can do the edge lighting and all that fun stuff. You can make it so that way whenever your device is face down, if an important contact calls you, the edge will light up so you know specifically which contact it is based on the color. Little things like that. It's got a lot of nice stuff like that. A lot of people would consider that bloat. I consider it just don't fucking use it. That's just me. Crazy opinion, I know. How dare I? There's a lot of really cool stuff you can do. I really like the reminder. The reminder app in this is fantastic. I like if I dismiss a call, like if I swipe up and it does the whole, oh, I can send an automated text response, it'll actually prompt me like 30 minutes later, like, hey, this person calls you, you should call them back. Little things like that. It makes it really nice. And for my own personal, like, whenever I go to work, for example, if I need to pick up something in particular, so that way when I show up at the other location, I get a little ping on my phone and it's like, hey, don't forget to grab such and such for who and who, and it's really nice. You can access things like Smart Select, so you can do screen capture, kind of like you would on the Note 5 with the S Pen. You can also capture GIFs that way. It's actually kind of frustrating using the GIF capture because you can't interact with the area below that you're trying to GIF record. So, like if I'm trying to do something on the keyboard, for example, like I was trying to be funny and I was trying to find a GIF with my keyboard. And the second I hit start record, the keyboard goes away, and then I can no longer interact with that part. It's just kind of like a dummy, like just to record what's going on, not actually record interaction, which sucks. But at the same time, like I get it technically, like I understand. Unfortunately, that's kind of really limited its usefulness. I only really use it to clip out YouTube videos now, which isn't a bad thing, but it's just kind of irritating. It could be so much more useful than it is, but I also get why it happens. I'm hoping with the Note 8 with the S Pen I can still interact, or I can interact with my finger while the S Pen controls the GIF or whatever, but we'll see. Stay tuned for 6 months when I do that review. Software-wise, the included apps are, they're getting leaner and leaner with each revision. There's still a lot of unnecessary kind of bullshit going on with the phone, but a lot of it's been pared back. Samsung Pay is a fantastic service, but it's absolutely irritating how every time I drive past somewhere that supports Samsung Pay, I'll get a little ping and it'll be like, oh, 7-Eleven supports Samsung Pay, you should use me and get reward points. And then, no, I don't care. But I can't hide the notifications because I like to know whenever my transactions go through. So it's like, I could probably disable GPS and get around that, but it's too much effort. I just want to, why? Why does it have to do that to begin with? A bunch of little stupid stuff like that I've noticed. I'm trying to think of a whole lot. I'm trying to think of some examples off the top of my head. S-Health is absolutely fantastic. This is the best version it's ever been. It integrates with my Gear S3 pretty reliably. So that's all nice. It tracks your sleep patterns. Fortunately, it doesn't work for me because I keep my... Like, it does a pretty good job of knowing whenever I go to sleep because, like, I put my phone down and I don't touch it for a while. And it'll actually, when I wake up, it'll tell me, be like, hey, did you go to bed at, like, 12 o'clock till 8:05 or whatever? And then I'm like, no, actually, I went to bed at 11:30 to 7:45 or whatever. And it actually does a pretty good job. It does an even better job compared with the watch, but just as a standalone thing, it at least knows when I'm sleeping. There are some other apps that I've used that will give you a little bit more granular control over things like sleeping and water intake, caffeine intake, and calorie tracking and all that fun stuff. But I feel I've actually had a really hard time finding an app to replace S-Health whenever I actually do the whole food calorie thing, because S-Health has a really nice database, and not a lot of other apps have a database this filled out and this fleshed out. It also does a pretty good job doing blood oxygen levels, how many floors you've walked. You can do exercises with it. You can even measure your stress, which is used with the sensor on the back. So let me measure my stress real quick. Why does this take so long? Outside of that, there's a few useful Samsung editions. Link sharing it's clunky, but I like that it exists. I wish it was a lot more streamlined. I hate the fact that I have to have like the code and then send the code separately to the link, but sometimes they don't actually need the code. Sometimes just the link works, sometimes it doesn't. I don't like the fact that the link goes live before the thing is actually uploaded. So like what I would do is in my Discord chat, like I'll upload like a video or something, because Discord will let me send videos, because and it's way easier than uploading to YouTube unlisted. Anyway,
So I'll send it through link sharing, and a lot of times, like if I send the link before the video is actually ready, they'll just get a thing saying, "Hey, it's not ready yet. Come back later," instead of like, like it's kind of weird. It's not the way that it's just weird. It's not as convenient as something like YouTube. T9 dialing is the best fucking thing ever. Apple, I need to check actually if iOS 11 does this, but like if iOS 11 doesn't have T9 dialing, Apple, seriously, you are losing this. You were losing this fight like hard. Like I don't understand why it's so difficult. T9 dialing is literally god tier whenever it comes to this stuff. Like it's so good. So going back to the physical side of the phone, you've got a few major changes to the outside. Obviously, since the screen is edge to edge. There is no physical home button, which is kind of unfortunate. Where did I throw that stupid stand? Can't find the stand, that's okay. So one of the unfortunate things is that because the display is edge to edge like it is, there is no physical home button, which also means you've got nav keys. I'm not a fan of the nav keys, but I like Samsung's implementation, which lets me pin them and unpin them whenever I want to, just with like that little dot in the corner, so that's really nice. It's customizable too, layout-wise. I like the pressure indicator down there because I don't have to actually have the buttons pulled up in order to go home. Probably the most controversial thing about this phone is the thumbprint scanner on the back and the iris scanner on the front. Personally, I don't have a problem with the iris scanner at all. Like I can just I don't have to do anything fancy and it unlocks. So see, it's that, and then just blah, like it unlocks. It's not that difficult. I also don't have a big deal with the thumbprint scanner because like if you see how I hold my phone, my finger's already there. So all I have to do is just bleh, and then I'm in. Like I don't know how other people hold phones. I don't get it. Like, do I just have big hands? Is that what the deal is? If you have little babby hands, get the smaller one. Otherwise, I don't have a problem with it. It's a natural grip for me. I do acknowledge that a lot of people have this problem, but I think those people just don't know how to hold their phones properly. I don't get it personally. I wish the shape of it was different though. I wish it was like a square instead of a rectangle. Maybe just a little bit bigger. Because I do have occasional misfires, so that's just from like my angle being weird. If I re-register my fingerprint, I'm sure it'll be fine. That's just a very minor gripe. English. And one of the nicest things is that I can just kind of touch it with the screen off and it unlocks. That's a nice touch too. What? Did it not record? Oh great, it stopped recording like 4 minutes ago.
Okay, well my mic shut off, so I apologize for the last 4 minutes of shit audio. Gotta love it. So I was saying this in my iPhone 7 Plus review that I was actually kind of not looking forward to using other phones after getting so used to the Taptic engine, because the Taptic engine is actually really freaking nice. You can feel the difference between a tap and a poke and a nudge, and it makes me so sad because this is going to be the one feature of the iPhone that I actually am going to miss with the S8 and going forward into the future for like years to come, because I know nobody's going to come close to this for a long time. Haptics in this phone, they're better than other phones, I will say, but it's very mildly better, and in the grand scheme of things, haptic just kind of suck, and I wish everybody would just steal the Taptic engine because it's just so orgasmically good. It's really kind of frustrating getting so used to that and then not having like anywhere close to a good implementation anywhere else. Please, if you're gonna steal from Apple, that's like the one thing that you need to steal. Don't steal the camera layout. Don't steal, all the other stupid petty bullshit. Don't steal the fact that all your icons are on the home screen. There's just one page. Don't steal all that stupid shit. Steal the good stuff. One thing I do want to touch on is that the display out of the box only runs in 1080p, which is really not a big deal. Yes, I can see the difference. I can see the difference in 1440p and 1080p on a 5-inch screen. I can. Not a lot of people seem to be able to, but I totally can. I don't think it's that big of a deal for the average person because it reduces frame stutters and stuff like that. It's not going to do anything to help your battery life, but a lower frame buffer would theoretically, draw less from the GPU, so it would help with stutters and stuff. Whatever. Realistically, I don't think it'll make that big of a difference. I don't know why it's the default out of the box. I'm sure Samsung did their research and they have reasons behind it. Personally, I don't know. Because the screen still looks absolutely gorgeous, even though it's at the gimped 1080p resolution. Whenever I have my power saving mode on, I do have it drop down to 720p. Just, you know, like if I have power saving mode on, I probably need to keep my phone on for the last little bit. So every 5 minutes helps. And the only time I really have 1440p on is whenever I put my phone into Gear VR mode, and then I just don't set it back because why bother? That's basically what it is. I think it's fine, but I know it's controversy, whatever, who cares? Bixby. Bixby is one of the greatest things I think I have ever seen come from Samsung in a very, very, very long time outside of like their displays and stuff. Bixby is holy fucking shit. How is every other fucking assistant designer on the market this goddamn terrible at their jobs? Because Bixby is so good. Bixby fails at stupid shit. I will give it that. They all do. They all suck in certain ways. But Bixby sucks the least and has the smartest back-end design to it that I've been asking for ever since Cortana, was it? Cortana? Yeah, it had to have been Cortana. It was because it was Siri, Cortana, Alexa, Google Assistant, and now Bixby. So ever since like Cortana, I was like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if designers did it this way? And nobody fucking did. And I was like, oh my god, this is retarded. Basically, the way Bixby works is that it uses Tasker kind of pseudo style of inputs to do what it needs to do. Now what I mean by that is that all the other assistants have to have functionality baked into whatever app it is that they're wanting to use. So like, for example, Siri can only use Apple Music because Apple hates everybody and doesn't want you to use Spotify and all that fun stuff. So if you want to do something with Spotify, you can play and pause. That's about it. Well, the way Bixby does it is instead of sending like an API call directly to the app and telling it to stop whatever it's doing or do whatever, Bixby actually programs in macros based on your voice. So you would say something like, open Google Play Music and play Party Jams playlist. And it would open Google Play Music and touch on the screen where it says Party Jams playlist and then touch the play button. So that way there's no interaction actually required with the app outside of what you can actually touch as a person, which is freaking awesome because that means that there's no custom APIs needed, especially since this is the 5th major standard and nobody's going to fucking adopt a 5th major standard for your stupid API for your stupid assistant. And this adds all kinds of other functionality, like you can do voice macros with it. You can program special shortcuts to always do certain things, and then you can shortcut it. So I can say, I can open Bixby and I can just say booty, 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 and it would open Facebook and send open YouTube and go live. You can do whatever you want with it. It's really powerful and it's really cool. Bixby does need a lot of work. I have some trouble with it picking up my voices, and sometimes it doesn't quite get what I mean whenever I say do this one particular thing, but it has gotten way better since launch. I wanted to put out a dedicated video to Bixby because Bixby was so good, but life and all that. I can routinely get anywhere from 7 to 8 hours of screen on time with this phone, which is absolutely fantastic. I love it. If I leave it overnight, I typically lose 4 to 6% depending on whatever's going on that day. So I'll typically end my days with about 14 to 20 hours or so of standby time, and anywhere from like 6 to 8 hours of screen on time is like usually what I get. Now I will say that a lot of my usage is I have a very lean assortment of apps that I actually use on my phone, but I really don't use that much. I very recently started Snapchat. That's probably the most battery draining thing that I have, and then I have Facebook Messenger, and then it's basically just the stock apps beyond that. Mostly throughout my day it's using Reddit is fun and YouTube. Every so often I'll open Twitter and post something, which isn't very often. Every so often I'll use the browser to go to Facebook and look up stuff, but it's like 90% of my usage is YouTube and Reddit, which is why my screen on time is as high as it is. If you use apps like Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and you're on them all day, they're going to kill your battery because they just use way more power. It's, that's a given. But I will say, with the same usage, my iPhone 7 Plus, I got a little bit better battery life, like little bit, just because the standby is slightly better on the 7 Plus. But I would end my days with about the same screen on time, give or take, because you can't check screen on time. So yeah, I'd start my days, I think usually it's
around 8 o'clock. And by the time I get home, it's usually 8:30, 9 o'clock. And by the time I get home, I'll have like 25% or less, depending on how busy my day is. And I work 9-hour shifts, and I drive an hour to and from work. So it gets me through a really long day, and it gets me through me listening to podcasts on it, having a YouTube video playing while I'm doing something else, doing a lot of inventory tracking, a lot of managing like part inventory and all that fun stuff. So it gets me through a really powerful day, which is all I can ask for. So I know that if I torture the phone, it's going to last, which is a godsend.
Okay, looks like my microphone shut off again. Wow, this is getting irritating. Okay, this video is gonna suck. I'm sorry guys, I'm trying my best. But keeping in mind with what I just said, not using Facebook, not using any of those performance training apps, I don't have any performance struggles. The only times I do have performance struggles is when I'm using things like Facebook Messenger and Snapchat because they're just terribly designed apps. And that's not the phone's fault. Okay, yeah, sure, certain phones might perform better in that regard, but I don't have operating system lags, I don't have stutters. Every so often I'll have something weird and I'll reboot like once every 10 days, if that. That's about it. I don't have the stutters, I don't have the lag that everyone else seems to have. And I think it's just because my usage on my phone is very lean. I don't have a lot of that crapware on my phone, and I keep on top of that stuff. So if you're having problems with battery life and you're having problems with performance, get rid of all of that useless crap. Please, for the love of God, quit using cleaner apps. Like it's the worst possible thing you can do for your phone. Not because the cleaner apps themselves don't actually do what they do. They do, but what they do doesn't really help much. It's 6 in one, half dozen in the other. There's a bunch of schools of thought about that. What hurts is the fact that they load like 15 other apps on your phone and like they take over your lock screen and they show you ads and they do all that's the stuff that kills your battery. So quit doing it. And it's the same concept with Facebook and Instagram. They launch services that keep the phone awake and running constantly all the time, and that drains your battery. So, you know, quit using them, and it makes everything better. It's insane. If I took Facebook Messenger and Snapchat off, I guarantee you I could probably hit 9 or 10 hours of screen on time if I really tried, which I'm not going to because I don't need to. So let's move on to the camera. I absolutely love Samsung's cameras. I'm not a big fan of the picture quality from iPhones. I don't know what it is. I'm just not a fan. I don't know if it's the color or if it's the sharpness or what the deal is, but it's just camera photos from an iPhone are just not as impressive to me. Samsung has really brought their A game this time around with their camera. I've been able to take some pretty magnificent shots. The ones that you'll see examples here are probably usually pulled from my Google Photos because I don't think I have the originals anymore because I don't really care. The camera's not really that improved much from the S7 and S7 Edge and the Note 5 or Note 7, whichever sensor it uses. So it's basically just kind of perfecting what's already there. Not a bad thing in the grand scheme of things, but it is kind of irritating that not a whole lot's changed. So hopefully with the S9 camera, there'll be like that next generation leap in quality. At first I wasn't that happy with the gestural controls, but now that I've gotten used to them, they're not as bad. Some apps, Snapchat especially is the major one I can think of, gesture controls are usually terrible, but this actually does a pretty good job. Pro mode is fantastic, like always. Panorama mode's actually pretty good. The software side of things is really fleshed out a lot more, so you get a lot less of like the stutters and skips and cuts and bends and all that crazy stuff. It's just kind of funny to me that all the companies now are copying Apple, and I actually have friends who are like, oh, Samsung's copying Apple with the Note 8 with the dual camera because now it can do the depth thing. Spoiler alert, Samsung phones have been doing that since the S5. It's called selective focus. It's been there, I promise. In fact, I'm going to do a selective focus photo here. But obviously it'll be better in the Note 8 because the Note 8's got the dedicated hardware for it. But I mean, like I said, it's a feature that's been in Samsung cameras for quite some time now, so it's not like anything new is changing here. The camera it's fantastic for a smartphone. Like it's absolutely mind-blowing how good this camera is. Compared to some others that I've used. I actually kind of like using it better than I do some of my DSLRs, especially my Nikon. My Nikon's kind of bad, but you can do some crazy things with this camera. Like I said, I'm going to be showing examples here and there, up and around. Slow motion video and the hyperlapse I have actually shot video with, and you've actually seen some footage on my channel with with the slow motion and all of that fun stuff. And I've actually filmed videos with the main camera on my S8. See if you can figure out which ones. And in fact, actually, it's looking like my camera's about to cut out again, so I'm probably gonna have to switch this to my wife's S8. So let's hope that doesn't happen. It's probably gonna happen here in a little bit. You can download more modes from the Samsung App Store, like food mode's pretty good. It basically, you just highlight an area and then it kind of like enhances the colors and makes the food look more like makes it look nicer, I guess. I don't know. I don't use it. I just take pictures. I like Pro Mode for most of what I do because it's really nice being able to get the right shutter speed that I want to get the brightness just where I want it. And it's also really nice being able to manually adjust focus to get it just right. And let's crank the ISO down a little bit, and then crank the shutter speed up just a hair. There we go. So, Pro Mode, it gives you a lot of control, and it's once you know what you're doing, it's actually really nice. But Auto is going to be best for most people. The selfie camera is one of the best cameras I've ever seen. I don't know if it's just because of the wider angle or if it's a resolution thing or what the deal is, but I actually really, really, really like it. It's got some pretty cool software tweaks that you can do with it, like the wide selfie, or you can use the heart rate sensor to kind of detect and pose for a picture, or you can use hand gestures to take a picture, little stuff like that. It's just, I feel a lot better taking selfies with this camera than I do with when I was using the iPhone. It's just this camera, I feel, just makes me look a little better. So, not like I'm much of a selfie guy, but every so often, it's nice to feel good about yourself, which this camera actually makes me do, as opposed to the other cameras. And yeah, video is actually really, really, really nice on these cameras. The only complaint I have is that they tend to get really noisy unless you have really bright light out. So unless you're shooting in daylight, expect to get some ISO grain. And things like the slow motion are actually shot in 720p, but they're really high frame rate, but they tend to get pretty noisy as well. So make sure you're pretty well lit, and you won't really have any problems with that. If you have both the software and the optical stabilization on, it looks really nice and really pixel-esque whenever you're recording video. But unfortunately, that only works with 1080p 30 and 720p 30. 1080p, I guess it works with 1080p 60 as well. But 4K, 1440p, they don't allow you to do. There's like a few of the higher end modes don't allow you to do HDR and object tracking. Some of them don't allow you to do, you can't. It's really kind of weird too because you can't do the stabilization with the lower resolutions. I'm assuming just because they can't punch in and do what they need to do. One of the nicest things I will say that you can do is that the front camera is also stabilized like that. So as long as I'm I'm holding my camera as still as possible, but I'm just going to kind of shake it around a little bit so that you guys can actually see what it does. It actually does a pretty good job of stabilizing, and it'll actually track your head pretty good too. I don't know if this is going to do it or not, but it's a pretty good way to kind of keep yourself centered in frame, and it does a pretty decent job most of the time, at least. Yeah, just make sure that when you're in the settings to turn off the motion picture thing, because that's basically Apple's live photos thing. Samsung, quit copying the shit that Apple does and do the good stuff like the haptic engine, please. Outside of that, it's a really, really good camera. We're getting to the point where smartphone cameras are so good that we don't have to worry about bringing a second camera with us for most things. Like even big events, like graduations and all that stuff, weddings, you can get away with just your phone now. Whereas before it was like, oh, haha, yeah, you got a picture of me, yay. Now it's legitimately you can get good photos as long as you know how to work the camera. We're getting to that point where DSLRs, like this one or the one I'm filming with, just aren't as necessary anymore, which is a good thing. I like the bottom firing speaker. It's probably the best Samsung speaker I've heard, but I would prefer dual facing stereo speakers. I'd prefer a little more bass. I'd prefer blah, blah, blah. For a down-firing speaker, it's good. It does its job. Not much to say. Just with the S9, please give us front-facing stereo speakers, especially on the larger phones. It's really kind of you don't know what you're missing until you have one of the larger phones like this with dual stereo speakers. Because like with the Nexus 6, there was actual stereo separation. It was large enough to have that. It was minor, but you could tell. And it really was nice, especially for videos and such. I made listening to podcasts pretty nice too, because I could kind of just arrange the phone however I needed to bounce sound around, as opposed to trying to like bounce it off like a book or whatever against the wall. Speaking of sound, I still don't care about the headphone jack. I don't get what the point is. The included AKG tuned headphones are pretty nice. They're a little bit bassier and a little bit less on the high end than I personally prefer, but they do the job good. They're comparable to my Bluetooth headphones in terms of quality. Are they life-changing? No. They're probably the best pack-in headphones I've heard, and they're probably the best store-bought headphones I've heard that are at that price point or lower. The only things that are really better would be like the $250, $300 headphones, personally speaking. I'm not a fan of wired headphones. It's 2017. Everyone should use wireless earbuds. They're getting really good, and if you buy a model or two older, then you can usually get them OEM bulk, and they're usually fantastic because they're ones that were retailing for $100, $150 last year. Just do that. I said in my iPhone 7 review, I bought a pair that I got with like my S5 or something. I bought a pair for my mom for $20 when I paid, like, they retailed for like $100 at the time. So you can do it. Especially with these headphones, they were really, really, really nice when I took them out of the box. The braided cable was nice, build quality was nice, and I haven't had any problems with like them actually breaking. But as you can see, they get kinky like really, really easy. And once they kink like that, it's kind of impossible to get them to unkink. Trust me, I've tried. And they like to spin inside the rubber likes to spin inside the cloth, which is what leads to those kinks. They sound really good. Like I said, they're pack-in headphones. They're not going to break them. They're not going to blow you away. They might blow you away in the space of, wow, these pack-in headphones are pretty good, but compared to what most people use, because people use the shitty iPhone speakers or headphones, it's orgasmic. I've used that word a lot tonight, but no, it's just fucking use Bluetooth. It's 2017. Come on, people. And then we're just gonna move on to the typical stuff real quick. Cell strength was typical. I haven't had any problems with it. I'm using it on T-Mobile's network in South Florida, the Tampa Bay area. Only had 2 major issues where I was stuck on like E, and once I rebooted the phone, it was fine. I get pretty amazing data speeds. It's pretty consistent. It's low ping. I don't really have any complaints there. Call quality is pretty great for Android phones. Nothing will come close to an iPhone in my opinion. They have some really amazing earpiece speakers that I absolutely love, that for some reason no other manufacturer seems to be able to replicate. And especially when we're on T-Mobile and we're using the HD voice, so it's a T-Mobile to T-Mobile call. It sounds fantastic. It sounds like I'm using Skype or another VoIP service that doesn't suck. And it sounds great, but it's not the iPhone speaker. The iPhone speaker it's got more bass, because these speakers tend to typically rely on like the mid range. That's like the iPhone speakers have a little bit more low end, so the voice sounds a little fuller. I'm no expert, so I don't know the actual frequencies, but it's noticeably better on the iPhones and has been for a very long time. And yeah, really the only other thing that I want to speak on is the USB-C charging port. Holy crap, USB-C is a freaking godsend. It's fantastic. It's enabled me to buy a $15 video adapter and it work. It enables things like Samsung DeX to work. I can use this as a battery bank for charging other devices. It's reversible. It's just such a nice plug. It's such a good design. More things need to use USB-C. It's fast, it's reliable, it's all that fun stuff. Outside of all of that, phone is rated for IP68 dust and water resistance. Don't crack the back or the front, because that will kind of ruin that seal. Realistically, you'd be fine if it was the front, but just as long as the adhesive is still intact, then you should be fine. If the back cracks, that's an entirely different story, because it's only adhered around the edges. But we'll get to see more about that in a future video that I do, because I'm going to be tearing this bad boy down. Mostly because I fucking dropped my phone at work, because I was trying to use the flashlight, so I had it like in my mouth, like trying to work on something, and I dropped it. It hit like 6 things on the way down, and I have a tiny little crack up in the corner, and I have to replace it before I can get my Note 8. So I'm going to do that. And there's going to be a teardown video, kind of like what I did with the iPhone 7. It's going to be its own dedicated video. Playing games on this thing is actually kind of nice. I'm just kind of thinking of things before I sign off. I don't like the game launcher that much. The game launcher is kind of obtuse and just weird to me. But it works. It keeps icons organized. The only problem is that I forget that I have them installed, so I don't go out of my way to play them. But playing games on this thing is actually really nice with the wider aspect ratio. Most games will support the wider aspect ratio. I actually took some comparison screenshots with Minecraft, I believe it was, and as long as the game's coded right, it will extend properly past the 16:9 aspect ratio. I haven't really found a game that doesn't. I tried Knights of the Old Republic, Vice City, Minecraft, like I said. I can even get some of the emulators to run full screen like that, and it does run. As far as VR goes, I was going to make a video on Gear VR and all that fun stuff, but then I just kind of stopped working on it because it just wasn't, not that I wasn't interested in it, but I feel like if I'm going to do a video on VR, I need to do it on like Vive and Oculus Rift, as opposed to doing a phone VR headset, because phone VR is kind of crap. It's good, but it's just kind of crap. Let's see, what else is there? Theming. I said I was going to talk about theming. You can theme your device. You can get themes from the theme store, funnily enough, and they range from anything. Like you can change pretty much every aspect of the phone. You can change coloring. You can change font. You can change certain built-in apps like theming as well. You can change. Like you can minute changes. I'll throw up some example pictures of themes so you can kind of see the difference. My problem with themes is that a lot of them are just obnoxious and over the top, which is it's how a lot of people just do their phones. I keep mine pretty minimalistic. I haven't even changed out the stock wallpaper because I like the sparkle effect that's on the always on display. That's actually kind of irritating. That is something I would like to change. Would be to keep the sparkle effect, but let me put whatever picture I want in the background. Maybe in future updates. I quit taking updates once there was a root exploit. I just never actually rooted it because I didn't care. So who knows? Maybe you can do that now. I don't know.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching very much. I do appreciate it. I had a little bit more planned for the outro there, but my cameras just weren't cooperating with me, unfortunately. So I apologize for the abrupt shift in scenery and everything and camera quality. Haven't used my phone for this one, but nah. Anyway, if you guys like what you saw, be sure to hit that like button, and if you're not subscribed already, be sure to hit the subscribe button, so that way you can see more of the crazy stuff that I do. I actually don't know if what I pointed at was actually the... Just hit the button, and then, yeah, leave comments down below if you have any specific questions about the phone. I'll do my best to answer them, and hopefully I'll be more prepared in the future, because these long-form videos are really, really, really hard to shoot. I need a new camera. But anyway, with all that said, guys, I do appreciate it very much. You know, I read each and every single comment, and I'm looking forward to the future when I do more tech reviews, because I got my Note 8, so that'll be coming, I don't know when, it'll be coming soon. Yeah. See you guys around. Thank you very much.